Okay, on behalf of Mr. Kondwan Dombola, the Director of Geological Survey, and on behalf of my fellow colleagues who are part of this presentation production, Mr. Ntumbuka, Dr. Chiona, Felix Mpebo, and Patrick Chidandari, allow me to present the role of Geological Survey Department on geohazard monitoring in Malawi. It is within the mandate of Geological Survey as a department to monitor, assess, and archive, at the same time disseminate geohazard-related information across the country. And mainly as a department, when we are looking at geohazards, we normally look at earthquakes, landslide, and floods. However, to achieve this as a department, we do work in collaboration with the other government departments, academic institutions, and non-government organizations. On the academic institutions, Zuzi has already said it, and Ignacio as well in their presentation, they've already said it. We normally work with these academic institutions within the country, apart from the other institutions which we work with outside the country, like Bristol, Cardiff, Missouri, Columbia University, and other universities. So as a department, it is within our mandate to carry out geohazard sensitization campaigns with the public. At the same time, we also play an advisory role to government and non-governmental plus some other institutions. There are some times whereby a client will ask Geological Survey to provide technical services. So as a government department, we are mandated to provide the services to such clients. At national level, so far, Geological Survey Department has just completed a GMAP project. And within the section of GMAP project, we had a component of geohazards. So some of the products of this project is the map we are able to see here. This is a product of the GMAP project, whereby we're able to map landslide prone areas across the whole country and the flood prone areas across the country. And this project has produced 10 geohazard maps, which include the floods, landslide, and earthquakes at a scale of 1 to 250,000. And there's more like a synthetic one map, which is covered at 1 to 1 million, covering all these hazards in one map. So for example, this is just a snippet of an area, I think within Zomba. We see Zomba Mountain, and we see the chain of mountains on top, that's the Mongolowe, Chunguni, and Lake Chiwa to the far eastern side. And you can see the flood hazard aspects, the blue colors we see, the different colors mark the different dimensions in terms of flood hazard. And the landslide as well, the different colors as we move down Zomba Mountain. Zuzi has already presented something which is similar to this product. And at national level as well, GSD as Geological Survey, we are currently undertaking ground and noise vibration monitoring due to traffic and construction activities in the city of Lilongwe. And the photo we see there, it was upon request by a certain client who asked Geological Survey to undertake blast monitoring exercise. And this was done in Mangochi, Blantyre, Lilongwe, and Kasungu. Recently, we are involved in monitoring train-induced vibrations in Lilongwe, Machinga, Baraka, Mwanza, and Ineno, so as to determine the impact of these vibrations on the local communities. With regards to landslide, Geological Survey has been involved in this, as already said. And the photos we see, this was a project that was funded by the German government together with Geological Survey. We had a component of environmental geology, and within that, we GSD managed to map landslide prone areas around Sochi Hill in Blantyre, those of us who know Blantyre. And as part of providing the advisory role, within the report that was produced out of this geological survey, provided alternatives to the State Assembly on what they have to do to avoid the hazards killing people or destroying property of people. The Google Earth images we see, the one in 2010 is not a Google Earth image, it's a photo that was taken during the time of the mapping this area. And the Google Earth below 2022, we can see how the Jumbo Jumbo area, the area close to the Sochi Hill, how it has been populated now as compared to 2010, when a landslide affected this area. And this one was more or less like a muddy slide. In 2020, GSD as well carried out a geotechnical investigation of a landslide that happened along the M1 road as we are moving from Nzuzu to Kalonga, somewhere at Mbuta. We had the area experienced the landslide that affected the major highway that connects Nzuzu and Kalonga. So as a department, we were asked to carry out geotechnical investigation around this area. And this was done, and a report was written out of this, and the advisory law was also passed on to the client that asked the department to carry out this activity. On seismic monitoring, so far instrumental observation started dates back in 1962. By this, of course, we had very few seismic stations across the country. Currently, we have 11 broadband stations, which are run from the northern part of Malawi in Kalonga up to the southern part. However, we have to mention here that not all these stations are functional. Some, of course, they are broken down. It's only a few out of these that are functional. And within the stations, some are co-located with GPS stations, mainly in the northern Malawi, which belong to the segment project, Columbia University. And we also have some GPS stations in the southern part of Malawi, and these belong to the Prepare Africa. The difference between these is the one which belongs to segment project, they are on continuous data acquisition system, while the one in the southern part of Malawi, we normally deploy them once every year. And out of the seismic stations we have across the country, 2 belong to the Africa Area Project. And these are one is in Zomba and the other one is in Nzuzu. And they are both co-located with weather stations. In the current seismicity of the country, as we can see from the map, the country mostly receives small to moderate earthquakes. And the northern part of Malawi is highly active, as we can see from the seismic map here. We see here an intense distribution of seismic epicenters around Kalonga. And most of these events occurred during the 2009 December earthquakes in Kalonga. The central and southern part are a bit moderately to least active. However, the back seismicity, as noted, of recent in Nsanje into Mozambique, the other side of Malawi, the eastern side of Malawi, bordering Nsanje, is being active as of recent. The devastating earthquakes so far as a country, we have received we experienced the 1989, Zuzi already has spoken about this earthquake, and this occurred along the Bilulan Takataka Fault. This caused landslides, and one of the landslides is the one Zuzi has just presented here. Landslides were recorded in Doha, and Chize and Kasungu, and this recorded 9 deaths. Of recent, the December 19 earthquake in Kalonga, this one had several foreshocks before the main shock. And after the main shock, it had several aftershocks as well. And 2,752 houses were affected. 4 people died. and 300 were injured. And that's a photo. Is close to the same area which Zuze showed a photo of damaged house in Kalonga. It was within the same area. As a department, we carry out earthquake awareness campaigns in the public, and normally we do this in connection with academic institutions, secondary schools, and normally these awareness campaigns with regards to earthquakes, they mostly comprise the earthquake drills, whereby we look at the drop, cover, hold, and some aspects of what should people do before an earthquake, during an earthquake, and after an earthquake. The photos we see here, the photos down here, these are part of the earthquake drills which we carried out at Mwanza Secondary School in the southern part of Malawi. And as a department, we have carried these drills in the center and in the north as well, targeting primary and secondary schools. But it is our hope that these drills will at least reach out to some sectors as well. And in 2011, we produced an earthquake handbook and a poster. The handbook and the poster, they normally express the information in what should people do before an earthquake, and during an earthquake, and after an earthquake. Currently, these handbooks, they are in 2 languages. They are in English language and the Chichewa language. Chichewa is more like the national language, the local language in Malawi. But we hope to at least translate them into the other local languages in the country, so that each and everyone is able to read and know what to do. Collaboration with other institutions, we have had the segment project from 2012 to 2016, in which high resolution reflection and factual data was collected. And we have to mention here that during the Prepare project, there was development of the active for database for Malawi, and some of the data was from this project, the segment project. And we also had the Pro project, and lastly we had the Safari project, which ran from 2012 to 2014. On the Pro project, we can see that GSD has been in collaboration with other institutions way back from 1986 up to present. So this shows how the cordial relationship has been between GSD and other department institutions within and across the country. This is another collaboration of recent. Of course, GSD has worked hand in hand with Bristol University, Cardiff, University of Malawi, the Polytechnic as well, to develop the Malawi Active for database. And this has been very important in the country because it will and it has assisted in improving the hazard assessment for the country. As you can see, the database to the left here in the image, the map we see in the middle is the hazard map without inclusion of the active force. After integration with the active force, we can see now the map to the right-hand side, how the hazard risk is being pronounced in a way that is different from the previous one, where we normally use the instrumental observation, for example, seismic epicenters. And in summary, the Geological Survey as a department is mandated to be the custodian of this geohazard data in Malawi. And we have seen from the previous years up until now, there's an increase in seismic activity, which brings insights into how vulnerable the communities are, mainly due to poor building standards. And development of the Malawi Active for database has been one of the greatest achievements with regards to understanding the seismic hazard risk in the country. Still more, there's need for construction of earthquake resilient structures and outreach campaign. We saw from the presentation of MUBAS, Dr. Ignacio Ngoma said it clearly that they're trying to invent some new technologies, for example, the use of bamboo. This is very important, and maybe the challenge or the loss of life due to collapsing of houses maybe might be reduced, because we know bamboos are very light as compared to the hard walls, concrete blocks, and even the bent bricks. Lastly, there's a need for continued collaboration in carrying out scientific research, both within the country and across the borders, for us to understand the hazard status of the country. Thank you very much for your attention. This marks the end of the presentation from GSD. Thank you.